Your kicking is your highest skill here. Was it as important to be good with your feet back then as it is today for a keeper?
When I was young, it was like it just started to become. They used to just started to emphasise how much you had to use your feet as a goalkeeper. Because obviously before that, it wasn't really it wasn't so much a thing. Especially with the guys growing up now, you have to be as good with your feet as you are with your hands.
You spent a lot of your time out on loan while at Fulham. How does that affect you as a player?
It's not easy, especially as a goalkeeper, because you go out to play games. I think if you're an outfield player, sometimes you may stay there, even if you're not playing for a couple of games. Obviously, as a goalkeeper, you go there and you want to play every single game.
What was the relationship like between you and Mark Schwarzer during your Fulham days?
Mark was very, very good. I learned a lot off him. He was just a machine that you thought would retire and never did, to be honest, which obviously frustrated everyone at the time. But, it taught me a lot.
Was there ever a moment you thought you should be starting ahead of Mark?
Early 20s, I thought I was going to make my Premier League debut. We were at Craven Cottage against QPR, and he had a real back problem leading up to the game, and he didn't finish the warm-up. And I remember the goalkeeping coach at the time, Kevin Hitchcock, coming up to me and saying, "I think you're gonna play. Just get ready." And no, Mark played through the game, which we found out after was like a fractured back. So yeah, I mean, it showed his mental strength to get through games. And like I said, even though I didn't get to make my Premier League debut then, I learned from him, taking that on into my career now.
Did you ever cross paths with Berbatov?
Yes, I did indeed. Yeah.
What's he like in training? Because he looks like the sort of player that will dink the keeper.
His football intelligence was beyond anything that I've seen. Obviously, I never played with him on in the starting 11 game. I've trained with him a lot. He just caresses everything. He doesn't make anything look hard. It's like, he was a very special player.
You actually made your debut for Fulham in the Europa League. How was that?
Don't think Fulham fans will forget that game, because that game we got knocked. I don't know how we got knocked out, but we got knocked out that evening, which was not nice for obviously me playing my debut. And I actually never kept my shirt for my debut either, which is a shame. But yeah, I mean, on a personal level, to play any sort of Europa League, Champions League football is obviously something that no one can take away from you.
This is your FIFA 14 foot item. What do you make of this?
I don't even know who else I need to speak to. My speed hasn't peaked since I was 18 years old. Now, I remember my time at Crewe. That was right at the end of my time at Fulham as well, to be honest. Yeah, it was a tough year for me, that one, because, I mean, I was actually doing quite well on loan at Crewe, and I went on loan there twice, but I was injured for a lot of that season. And then obviously coming out of contract at Fulham with the big changes at the club, and they got relegated as well. So it was good on one side to get the games, but it was tough as well.
You just mentioned there about your contract ending at Fulham. What's it like to be released by a club as a young player?
It's nice to kind of look back on it now that it didn't determine where I ended up and where I am now, but it was a tough time. Obviously getting released from any club is not nice, especially at that age. I had a few options. I probably made a few questionable decisions, and then I was out of a club for 6 months, to be honest. I was training down at Charlton. I knew the goalkeeping coach down there. I was even offered a contract there, which I turned down. Like looking back at it now, I don't know why, but I did. I think I found myself like start of December. The season obviously started and continued throughout, and I ended up signing for Oldham.
So you play your international football for the Philippines. Can you tell me about that journey?
I was in England set up at 16, kind of find myself in and out of it, if I'm honest. I think the Philippines tried to invite me a few times, and at the time they didn't really, for me, they weren't taking it too seriously. In 2008, I flew over to the Philippines to kind of meet the team, meet everyone, to see how it was. And from then it just felt right for whatever reason. Sometimes you just can't put your finger on it, but it just felt right. And I decided to commit to play for the Philippines. And I haven't looked back. I've been 60 plus international caps, been able to break a lot of records with the Philippines. Even 2019, it was the first time we qualified ever for the Asian Cup. I've been able to progress that country and football moving forward.
So there's one fixture that sticks out to me here, and that's North Korea away.
Yeah, when people ask like, what's the strangest country you've been to, or like, what's the most odd country? I mean, it wasn't that bad, to be fair. I mean, you know, like any sort of international, you go there, you're in between four walls, to be honest. You play the game, you train, or whatever. It's on the passport, stamped on the passport, so which is different.
So you've got yourself a Team of the Week FUT item here, which is probably a reflection of you playing regular first team football.
That year, I was flipping a coin whether I was going to continue playing football or not really, and I got a message from Neil Cutler, who was a goalkeeping coach there at Walsall at the time, and he said to come down to Walsall, you know, would I want to go meet the manager, Dean Smith, and would I be interested in signing? And to be honest, it was a great decision. I enjoyed all my time there. My first year, we got into the playoffs and we just missed out on automatic promotion. So I had a really good 2 years there. I really enjoyed it, and it really kick-started my career.
What was Dean Smith like to work with? Could you tell he was going to be a top-class manager?
He had the right people around him. I mean, obviously the Richard O'Kelly and Neil Cutler are there with him at Aston Villa at the moment, and obviously I've worked with them. I mean, you can tell he's a very educated man. He knows what he's talking about, and obviously it's very nice for him to see him on a personal level do well.
Now on to your first season at Cardiff.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable season. You know, I think it's one that you don't forget. I mean, getting promoted on the last day at home, it's something special, very special.
Warnock was your manager at the time. What was he like?
You know, I was seeing my contract out at Walsall, and I met Neil Warnock before signing at Cardiff, and he was very black and white, very upfront, tells you how it is, and I just felt right. You know, I never looked back. Really enjoyed my time there at the club, working under him.
So how did it feel to finally be playing regular football in the Prem?
It's surreal, if I'm honest. Like, I mean, the exposure, worldwide exposure. I mean, obviously with me travelling around in internationals, you know, going to the Middle East and the Far East, you know, the amount you get recognised. I mean, even at the time, you wouldn't classify Cardiff as a big club in the Premier League, but people were just watching football all the time, and people just kind of stop, stare, point, especially with that haircut. I mean, I don't know what was.
It's a Premier League haircut, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a shame. It was a shame that we just got relegated on the second to last game of the season. We proved a lot of people wrong that year. You know, I think a lot of people would have thought we'd been down by February, and we took it nearly the distance. You know, the last game of the season, even though we'd lost, we won at Old Trafford 2-0. So, yeah, some great plays, some great memories as well. This
is your FIFA 20 FUT item, and you're now into the goal category.
I've never seen that before.
No?
I've never seen that. Better haircut. I like that.
This season with Birmingham, you're not where you'd want to be right now. What does the team need to do to climb up the table?
We're in a transition stage, and it doesn't happen overnight. You know, our start of the season has been a mixed bag, and we all know that. We need to keep working hard on the training ground and start putting in performances for the rest of the season. Got a great bunch of players off the field and on the field. Obviously, the manager and his coaching staff are working extremely hard as well. But yeah, we're really going through a transition period at this club. And like I said, it doesn't happen overnight.